You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Call. We've got Gregg Ritz here, Hunt Masters. We're at the Total Archery Challenge here in, it's not Park City.
Somewhere in Utah.
Solitude.
Yeah, Solitude.
Brighton.
Yeah. Brighton. Yeah.
Right in Utah.
I'm not a Utahn.
We're in Utah.
I'm new to Utah, but I didn't
We're in Utah.
I wasn't raised here. We got Rich Froning, CrossFit Games, and Mayhem Hunt.
Mayhem Hunt.
And we got Jake Powers here, Mountain Ops. And we shot the Total Archery Challenge today.
We did.
Some better than
We filmed it.
We filmed it. Every shot.
Yeah, we did. It was a little rough, actually. We got through it.
There's a large group.
Too many.
I don't.
My ADD
it's
kicks in.
But I don't think anyone at this table lost an arrow.
I did lose one
Did
off
you?
that branch. Off that branch,
yeah.
in the halfway through branch.
To be
I
fair, the
just
group
clipped it.
behind me found mine.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm 100%.
that was the only one I lost.
So I have a whole bunch of questions. This is where I get to like put headphones on people and then ask my questions.
Just dig, right?
So, Gregg, we've had a lot of conversations about archery, up on the mountain and stuff. What has changed between last year and this year for you in your archery game? Like, what'd you pick up last year? What's sort of the evolution since last time?
I tell you two major things.
Yeah.
Two major things. Super tuning a bow to help with forgiveness in your shots. So I can sit at 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards and just shoot dimes. But you all of a sudden we're on the mountain, and Rich and I were talking about this, like actually building a board like one leg lower and one leg higher to simulate, when we're
Awkward
back at
shots.
home. Like chasing the bubble, but having that bow super tuned with bare shaft tuning. So prior to that, I'm always paper tuning.
Yeah, right.
So now using a bare shaft, and Matthews, and all the bow companies have this ability to move your cams back and forth to get everything perfectly in line.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two is balancing my bow.
Yeah.
Adding weight, especially a back bar, which helps now when I'm on a hillside like this. If that bow naturally wants to be level, even though my body may not be level, the bow's going to want to be
right.
The bow's going to chase gravity.
You had a back bar on all day?
All day.
I didn't even notice it.
What you're describing though is it only makes a difference. I mean, when you got the rest of the that's like, those are the upper levels once you've got this lower level dialed. Cause most guys aren't going to even know what to do.
Right.
Like they're not going to be able to notice those things helping that much.
Right.
On some level. Right. Hey everybody, if you like the show and you want to support us, head on over to Mountain Ops. If you're in need of a new merino hoodie, or you want some workout clothes, or you just want a little pick-me-up, I like the Mountain Ops Ignite, especially like the pink lemonade flavor. It's a good one. I recommend that. Head on over to Mountain Ops, use the code GRITTY. You're going to save, and it's going to help us keep bringing you the show. Thanks for tuning in. Now, let's get back to the show.
But it's not what one arrow can do one day. It's what you do over time. And a lot of people, they make the mistake of shooting the minimum yardage. So, okay, we're white hunters, right? Whitetail hunters.
Yeah.
Tennessee, what are your effective ranges, Rich?
20. I mean, you're not going to see much past 20 early season.
Right.
And then maybe late 40 probably at tops. Tops.
Right. So in your mind, you probably spend most of your time practicing 20 to 40.
Because I first elk hunt, so I do a lot of deep. I'm actually the opposite of most guys from where I'm at. Most guys go whitetail first and then lead into Western hunting. I did the opposite. I went Western hunting first, and now I'm back to whitetail. So
right. So you're shooting longer ranges.
Yeah.
Right. So cold bow. So I shoot almost every day that I'm home.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't matter whether it's raining out. Doesn't matter if it's windy. Like the worse conditions, the better.
Because
that's when we're going to be hunting. Right. So I love those times. I always go right to 60 cold.
Yeah.
Cold bow. So let me go to 20. I'll warm up, make sure my tape's on, Go right to 60 because those first three shots are going to tell you what's going to happen in the
The
field
rest, yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
And it's going to pronounce the inefficiencies in your draw cycle, your hold, everything.
So on your phone, wherever, start keeping track. Like how many, and we did it today, which I think was smart, by the way. Kill shot or not kill shot. Like we're not shooting bullseyes.
Yeah.
So go out there, and I've got a small Reinhardt deer because in my mind, it messes with my head.
Right.
So you get the bigger ones, the ones that are more like the size of a mule deer.
Yeah.
Like I feel comfortable with the float.
Mm-hmm.
I start shooting at 60 yards on something that looks like an 80-pound doe.
Right.
And my brain goes, there,
Where it is.
right. So those are the things that I'm like, I came out of last year saying, okay, I was 1 or 2 down from gritty. What can I do better? Right. Obviously not enough because I still 1 down today.
That was close.
How did you explain bear shaft tuning? What's your process?
So 2 things. Most people just go paper, shoot a fleshed arrow through paper.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I do is I shoot a bear shaft. So the exact shaft I'm shooting without vanes. And if you've already fleshed it, fine, just take a knife and cut it off. Even if it has a little base material on, who cares, right?
Yeah.
Shoot it through paper, and it's going to tell you radically what's going on. And for me, as I was building my backup bow, it tore right like 2 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's not rest correctable. I got to change my cam position. Okay. So I got to move my cams to the right. Do that also, and it tore an inch left. Okay. Went too far. Now I got to go back. And then I was just a little bit off. So then I took the bottom one and just shifted that cam.
Yep.
Got that to a bullet hole. Then I go to 20 yards. Then I shoot a fletched arrow at 20. Then I shoot the bear shaft, and I want them to hit each other.
Yeah.
And if it's off an inch, then there's a micro tune on your rest.
Right.
And I've got the prophecy from AAE, right? So I can do those micro, like when I'm talking move at a 30-second. And like literally and sit, but you do it over time because we can't always shoot that well.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. In fact,
Not every day you can clean 350, right?
Not every day.
in fact,
been a year.
before I got better at the shooting side, the tuning I didn't pay attention to enough. And so for years I attributed some of my shooting, like bad performance, to my shooting. Later I started to have guys shoot my bow for me that were really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the shop because I'm not reliable enough to check my own bow, So at 60 yards, can those guys group it tight? And I am confident because they shoot, Redding, and they do all these tournaments and stuff. They pull up and they're like, your bow's tuned. It gives me confidence to go, okay, this is all me.
Yeah.
I am doing something wrong.
The machine's correct.
Yeah. And it's nice to have that verification. If you're not quite at that level, then you can really work on your shooting. But I hate to see a guy like Rich went out today, brand new bow, didn't have a lot of time to set it up. And you hate to go out. You can't tell if the shooting is you
Me.
or the bow.
And
as it was,
you're talking about that 3 consecutive headshots,
right? Like
I thought it
3
was
consecutive
intentional.
kill shots.
when you group like that, you're like, okay, the bow's off.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
But he's doing it every time, so he's consistent in his mechanics.
right.
Consistently punching.
It's going within reason where you're putting it, but you're either your sight or your rest, or you got
We
some
got that
crooked
dial
flight.
figured out.
So you adjusted the rest.
At first we adjusted the pins to the right,
But it didn't change anything.
So then we moved the rest, and that finally fixed it after 2 adjustments on that.
Yeah.
And then shot way better towards the back.
Oh,
half.
you shot fantastic.
Better.
Yeah, that whole thing.
To beat me by
That's the thing is, I like what you're saying though about back to balancing the bow. That is such a game changer.
Why fight it?
The thing is, in the past, I didn't think it really mattered that much.
Just look cool.
Yeah, I'm
The
like,
back bar.
I didn't even bother.
No.
And so you pull up and you just fix. It just takes a minute to fix the bow with all that torque on the bow. Then you release, and the arrow goes
So
as that torque releases.
So something to think about, and I think Rich would probably agree. In the fitness world, or Jake would agree, with all the works out you do, your body has a natural set point, right?
Yep.
Where it wants, and I'm sure your body doesn't vary very much.
Nope.
Right? It knows I want to be 188 or whatever, right?
Yep.
You weigh. Well, the bow weight that you shoot best is the same way. And until you experiment, with a 5-pound bow, a 6-pound bow, an 8-pound bow, and 9. You don't know what your body likes based off your strength and your hold and your shoulders and your geometry.
Right.
So, and you can shoot your groups will start coming in and then they'll go back out.
Yeah.
And you just got to add weight,
And
add weight until your groups open up. And then all of a sudden you realize I need an 8.5-pound bow.
Right.
Jake may need a 9.5-pound bow. He's bigger
I think
and
the
stronger.
same is true for hold weight.
That's what we were talking about in the car. That's what I was just thinking when he was saying that was I don't think I have enough back hold weight here because I'm not having to pull the whole time. Yeah, so I'm moving around. That's why I keep doing that random
relaxes and then the bow just kind of goes on him.
Yep.
So, right, so you can change your let off.
Yeah,
right. Go from 85 to 80.
And most of the best archers I've seen have always been on that, pretty high hold weight.
Mm-hmm.
When they get that hold weight a little bit higher, because you ever seen that where guy has almost no hold weight, he's got the bow back, and the whole string alignment can be pushed to the side. It's so loose. Or you can put your nose into it and put this curve in the string.
And you bring up a really good point. Most people don't understand how a compound bow works.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
I guess so. Yeah.
So when you pull a string back, your cams roll over. So when you're pulling it back, right, you're pulling it, say 70 pounds. You hit the 70. When it rolls over, the weight doesn't go away.
No, it lets off.
Right. But where's it go? It goes to the cables.
Yeah.
So now you have this noodle. That's why most of your Vegas shooters, your Levi Morgans, your Jesse Broadwaters, right, your Dan McCarthy's, all those guys are shooting low hold weight. Because now any little twerk of the back,
I can feel it.
You got a noodle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're shooting D loops, which help.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on the release and your form, higher hold weight is always better. You got to find the right line with how long you can hold on a white tail, right? When he's waiting to come out behind the tree.
I got stuck last year. What was it, Scott? 5.5 minutes? 7 minutes.
No,
a spike bull. Bulls thrashing up here.
You held it back for 7 minutes.
Yes. And
7.
So
you're a freak.
So I see, and we have it all on video. Like it's legit 7 minutes. We see a shadow.
Yeah,
And as I see the shadow walk, I draw.
I'd have failed it.
Well,
3 minutes. I think.
Right as I draw, Spike walks out. I thought it was the bigger bull coming in and the Spike, and he's got me pinned. And so I'm stuck here, and he's just looking at me. And so for probably 3.5 of it, I did that, and then I just kind of held on my bino case.
No freaking.
And then he dumps down the hill, so I put it back in. Yeah, it's 7 minutes.
What's the longest you've held, Brad? 3 minutes?
I mean, it wasn't the coolest thing I've ever done, but
no. But I start to break down. I don't have a good static hold on anything.
Start shaking bad. So balancing your bow though on what's the process on balancing your bow?
So you got two main balance points, right? So you get your front bar, and you got your back bar, and then there's two ways that you can adjust balance, which is length and weight. So the first is get the front bar heavier than you think it needs to be, right? And you typically start at like 10-inch bar from a hunting perspective. Obviously, the target guys are shooting one that's 36 inches long, but still always run your back bar. I typically run a 1-to-3 ratio on weight. So if I have 1 ounce up in the front, I get 2 ounces off the back and to the left. Now, make sure you do it however you're going to hunt.
Yeah, it depends on the weight.
If you hunt with a quiver, right?
Then you got less weight.
You need more weight. Right.
More weight.
Your weight's off on one side.
So you're not pulling out.
If you have a heavy sight, it's clunky or big or it weighs more.
The quiver and how that's going to play into it too.
So, and what you're watching is your pin.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, how do you know? Is watch your pin. So at first, if you pull back with, let's just say take your stabilizers off, right? Your pin's going to, look like it's on crack. Right. It's jumping on. Because there's no balance. The bows are so light today, which, they should make bows heavier so you don't make the bow light so we can have more weight to it. So now you want it swimming, and then all of a sudden you want that group.
Yeah,
as small as right. And then if you go too much weight, then your body starts breaking down.
But like last year, I'm shooting that PSE naked, no back bar, no front bar. It's carbon. It's a Mach 34. I can hold it like with one finger. It's a feather, but the hold weight's really high, and it's 80 pounds, and it's got really aggressive cams. And there's something about the light bow, but the heavy, like I just lock in tight and it's just rock steady for me. But on the new bow, like this Prime I've got, my Hoyt as well, now I'm adding the back bar and the front bar because it doesn't have the same rigidity at full draw. So they're not all the same. Like you got to play with that bow and try to figure out, where that sweet spot is. Like today I was toying around. I haven't shot with that quiver on the front, the quivalizer. I've been shooting with a little tiny bar out the front, just enough in the back bar. So I wanted to shoot today and just try it. And the first 6 or so targets, it just wasn't as steady. It just doesn't want to hold. That weight's a little far out, it's a little heavy, and I'm holding it back and just not quite balanced just right. Took it off. In the whole second half of the course, I shot with just the back bar because I didn't bring the front stabilizer. But it was like way better. It was just easier to hold. It was just
there.
Yeah.
You'll know it when it's right.
Yeah.
Do you do any walk back tuning or torque tuning?
Torque tuning, yes. Walk back tuning, I try, but normally when you get your bear shafts right,
you don't have to.
You don't have to, because then a lot of people, what they do is they end up taking their bow out of tune because they never leveled their second and third axis.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now their groups start hitting to the left. Oh, okay. Well, I got to adjust my bow. Well,
drive yourself crazy.
You're correct. No, because your level wasn't right on your bubble. Right. So then they take it out of tune. Now torque tuning, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, now you're getting into,
it helps though. Like
it does.
I mean, it's
for shootability. Yeah. I mean, physically moving that shaft there and watching that arrow shift to one side or the other and getting it as forgiving
as possible. Yeah. Like you can torque the grip all over the place and shoot, get that rest and everything dialed in so that if you torque it really bad and you have bad form on the shot, you're still kind of like in
the zone.
Make it as forgiving as possible. That helped me with a certain bow manufacturers quite a bit. Fixed a lot of problems because they can be really bad on the torque.
Right. The only tough part about doing all of this is the bows are so good, the arrows are so good, the equipments are so good, they cover up poor habits.
Yeah.
And you have to build good habits from day one. And every year, I mean, let's face it, we all stop shooting our bow November, December. We're hunting, right? And it's getting cold out. We don't shoot as much as we did. Like we're all shooting now. It's summertime. Then January and February come and we're not shooting at all. Then March comes, the weather gets nicer. We shoot a little. So during that whole period, we got to hit that reset button because we've lost that muscle memory.
Forgot, yeah.
Right. I mean, if you didn't clean for 6 months and then picked up the bar,
feels pretty bad.
What I feel though is if a guy can shoot a controlled shot, I was telling Rich that today. That'll solve 90% of every guy's problem. I mean, you're going to miss just smaller than you normally would from now on. Like even when I have not the best, I'm shaking, it's floating. I did this course one time with this old dude. It was 3D, and he had like some I don't know, palsy kind of tremor. Yeah, he's old. Dude, sucker would pull up, get there, and that bow would be doing like all over. And the pin's just floating, and I'm like, he's never going to hit anything. And he just pulled through that release, total surprise, whoop, and every time he was like right there in the 8, every time. He's like, old dude, but he just let that, he just accepted it. And he could there was no extra input. After that, I'm like, from now on, I just got to get my head right and do it.
We spend too much time fidgeting with equipment and not shooting.
Oh, I give Brad crap every year. Like, quit. It's not the bow.
Well, that's just
it's in your head. Like, quit playing with the bow.
Right.
Yeah. And he's like, bring out a wrench, adjust it's always this little tinkering. And I do think it has a lot more to just pull up and shoot a controlled shot. So
when I start the season over, typically March, I go back to 10 yards, change my release back to resistance release, and I blank bail, shoot no targets. Yep. and it's just either that or the firing line simulator.
Yeah.
I'll sit there and shoot over and over and over and over just to get that muscle memory.
Yeah.
And then just start walking it back. So then I get to 15 yards. Okay, that feels good. Then I go put a target face up.
Yeah.
Right. And it's fine. Get a big face to start. And I'm just floating around like, oh, this is easy. Then a smaller face. Okay, this is easy. And you're just training yourself. So when I get to 20 yards and I can sit there on a 5-spot target and literally shoot 5 perfect X's, well, now my confidence is good, my skills built. Now I can go back to 60.
Yeah. It's fun. Like I have my own 3D stuff at the house. I got like 6 targets. I got everything dialed. Brad and I'll shoot, in between the office days or whatever, and we can tinker with stuff. And it has been fun to really fine tune that bow and your technique and stuff. But it's an investment.
Oh yeah,
It's some time.
Oh, well,
fun.
Yeah, and we can go down the whole rabbit hole of arrows and front of center, and I mean, it's just there's so many things to learn. But you know what? At the end of the day, you got to find that line of you got to have fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like shooting with my kids. Like if I tried to over analyze and break it down, they'd be like, "Dad,
We're done.
I'm done."
no.
Well, and we were talking about this before in the car ride. We were discussing hunter skills. You have some guys that are really good at archery and shooting, but can't sneak up on anything.
Right.
You have guys that are fit enough to get there, but they can't shoot. Right. The goal is to be handy enough at all that you can be successful every year. You grew up hunting, didn't you?
I grew up in a hunting family.
Mm-hmm.
Uncles, dad hunted a little bit, but he was super impatient and I was super impatient. And so we didn't hunt together a lot. And I'd say probably the last 10 years I got now it's been probably 15 years now that I've gotten really into hunting, and the last probably 8 really into into elk hunting.
Yeah.
And then last year whitetail. So now I'm all in. I started out turkey hunting was the thing that clicked. I'd go out and sit in a freezing ass blind and not see anything ever, and I'm like, hunting sucks. Like, this is not fun. And then first turkey gobble, I was like, oh, this is different. And so that's what got me hooked.
Is elk kind of the biggest passion right now?
Yeah, right now it's just something about it. Like the smells. Me and Scott were talking about like being here gets me like wants to get me back out ready to go, and we're starting to do I was talking to Gregg the other day about some whitetail habitat we're doing at the house, and so I'm dipping a toe into that obsession now. And
You'll hook him.
My big thing is I enjoy it. I have a super addictive personality. We talked about that, but I want something that I can pass on to the kids and do something with the kids. And I feel like in a couple of years, my oldest is 10 and she's getting to where she wants to, hey Dad, can I kill a deer this year?
Yep.
I'm like, let's do it. And he loves Trice is here breaking things in the background. So anybody hears that, that kid could walk days to chase squirrels. He loves killing squirrels, and he doesn't kill them. He just holds them. Like we'll kill him, and he wants to just hold them for. I mean, he'll walk up and down. We're in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, Eastern Tennessee, and it's up and down and steep, and he doesn't care as long as we're chasing some squirrels. It's awesome.
I think that's a little bit primal. I heard Shane Mahoney once. He given this conservation talk, and he was talking about these. He's like, you walk into a room full of little kids. There's a pile of them in there, and there's games and toys and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, you walk in with a puppy, every kid stops and goes to that animal. Right. Like it's in us to value and be drawn to nature and into animals.
Yep.
And it's, I think also in your DNA to just feel, he made this comment, like every which way the wind blows means more. Every track you see means more. Like when you're on the stalk, like how you're breathing, tiptoeing, like you're not thinking about anything, by the way, except for that kill. It's one of the most freeing things you can do, where I don't think about an email. There's nothing that I think about except the focus on that kill and making that moment, like getting in and making that moment count, especially with a bow in your hand. And it can last 4 or 5 hours. High stress, all that. But when it's done, it's like I feel rejuvenated, like fulfilled in a way that, and some sort of like you tapped into some primal DNA thing that I don't know why, but I just got to do it again and again and again. I want to go back.
You can't explain that to somebody who hasn't done it. And for me, my whole life has been competition. I'm one of 32 first cousins, 25 are boys. Like every get together we had, it was like, who's the most dominant cousin? Right. Our aunts and uncles like created this whole bad habit in all of us. Like we still, when we get together, like wrestle in the front yard, last man standing. We used to play this game called King of the Dock in the pond. And so my whole life's been competition. And so stepping away from competition in the last couple of years, hunting is like the ultimate competition. And guess what? I don't have to do it in front of thousands of people. It's just me out there and I'm trying to figure it out. And so for me, there's that piece. And then it just, like you're saying, it just feels like that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's how we were created, right?
The only other thing I think that compares is stepping into the octagon or some ring and like all your focus is in fighter.
Not getting your
fight,
ass kicked.
just the fight. There is nothing else that, and it's just fighting your way through it. And there's something about that that's also primal.
Well, it's so miserable. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's the emotional roller coaster of, we do a lot of like slow hunting, like stalking. Mm-hmm. And so middle of the day, you're in those timbers and something's there, something's there. Mm-hmm. And then you get out in the aspens and nothing's there. And you're just like, gosh. And then you get to that next patch of timbers and you're like, there's something in here.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in it. So just that emotional roller, by the end of it, you're just drained, but you're fulfilled, like it's hard to explain to anybody who's never done it.
Well, and for me, for a long time when I was younger, making the shot was a problem, for years, making shot under pressure. I could sneak up on him. I could call him in. I could get there. But making the shot, I didn't have that many opportunities per year. I grew up we didn't get like 7 whitetails a year that could shoot or whatever. And so you get that one encounter, elk hunting, you might have one perfect storm event and you're expecting a guy to capitalize on it. And then that was it for another 365 days till the next season. Took a long time for me to get opportunities to where I got some experience actually killing an animal with a bow. Mm-hmm. And then it built on that over time. And I learned how to manage those intense emotions and lock in and use them to my advantage. But it took me a long time to get there. Too many years.
Makes it all worth it when it all comes together though.
Yeah.
But that is the advantage we have as whitetail hunters.
Killing east. A lot.
Yeah. We were talking, you have unlimited tags.
Yeah. We can kill 3 does a day where we're at.
It changed me when I went to Texas, when I went to New Zealand, when I went to Prince of Wales Island and you could just shoot 3, 4, 5, all these animals, pigs. It sort of, got me into that space where it's like, oh, this is how it's done. Mm-hmm. I can do this. Mm-hmm. Cause that adrenaline is just so high. You're about to take a life. Yeah. And for me, it was intense.
That's a hard part too, is people, I think, non-hunters are like, oh, you're just murderers. And you're like, no, there's a connection. Like there's not remorse. I don't want to say, cause I've never felt bad, but there's some like, hey, I took a life,
I think there's a sense of loss.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey folks, if you like the show and you want to support us, use the code GRIDDY over at Tricer. Head over to tricer.com, check out their AD and their BC model tripods. The LP head. Combined, the AD weighs 38 ounces and the BC weighs 32 ounces. They're incredible tripods. They're super stiff, rigid. They perform excellent. The heads are beautiful, smooth. Check it out. You can't go wrong for a backcountry hunting situation. They're the tripod of choice for us right now. Check it out, tricer.com. Use the code GRIDDY and save. Now let's get back to the show. Especially if this is where I first felt it the most intense. I was after the same buck like 3 years in a row, and I finally killed him. But I had watched him for so long, and on camera, I built a relationship with him. I knew this buck. I felt like, and I appreciated him because he just kept getting by me over and over. Yeah, until finally I made it happen, and then it was like, it's over. He's dead, and I killed him.
One of the worst feelings, Jake and I talk about this all the time, is you finally harvest that deer that you watch grow up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Right. And then, the rest of the season rolls on and they're like, man, I haven't pulled that trail camera, back on that back cut. Right. Yeah. And I go pull it.
See him.
And then he's on there and your heart just drops. Like, I'm never going to have another image of him. Yeah. Right. The next year rolls around. Like, guarantee if I hang it on this tree, he's going to rub this or I'll get him in velvet. and he's not there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
End
a
of story.
It's a cool feeling. And I remember like the one thing that I noticed was I feel this feeling, right? But then you would drag them out, hang them up, break them down, elk hunting, you're doing it in the field, but there's something cathartic about, I feel this way with bears because I wasn't tracking the same bear, but bears are sort of human-like. They're playing together. You'll see them like grab their feet and just roll and do these things that he's having fun. Mm-hmm. He's just out there eating berries and goofing around, and I just put a bullet in him. Mm-hmm. And there's this sense of like, that's a raw deal, for that bear. And so you get over there, but that's what you're there for, right? Yep. And then you skin it, you have this beautiful hide, which we'll leverage, and then you break it down, and we pack that meat out. And as I go through the process of breaking it down, bringing it home, even when I'm at home canning it and getting it ready, and then the kids are doing bear tacos and burritos with it all, there's this cathartic feeling where it just makes the whole sense of loss go away.
Yeah, right. You remember every bite.
Yeah.
I think the killing part is, I don't even think it's the best part, especially with elk, because when you're breaking that down, it's a big animal. If it's one or two guys, I think it actually hits you when you're packing them out. When you got them on your back, and that's when it's like, wait, all the emotions come together.
What Ranella would say, it's that type 2 fun, because
it's miserable when you're doing it.
It really is a suck fest.
But you would immediately jump back in and go.
I would do it again.
Yeah.
You've got to analyze that because it goes against so much of human nature to take the easy road, go shop at the grocery store. But I think, especially men, we crave challenge, man. We crave that struggle.
Wild at Heart?
No.
That's a solid book. Yeah, it just speaks to a man's heart. And there's actually the female counterpart to the book. It's called Captivated. And it was actually very good for me to read just from the perspective. Yeah, like about my wife and 2 daughters. Yeah. And like, hey, I know how my brain is. And I actually told Hillary she needed to read it for Trice. Not necessarily for me. She, we've been together for so long, but there's things that he does that she just can't connect with. She didn't have brothers. Her dad passed away when she was young. She was raised with a sister, like we're just different.
We are
different.
Different roles.
And so Wild at Heart, he speaks to that. What does he say? There's 3 things a man needs. I think it's a battle to run to, beauty to rescue, and then maybe I can't remember what the other one was, but it's pretty cool.
Dude, that resonates already.
I'm telling you, it's a solid book, and I've had a couple guys for 10 years tell me to read it, and finally this last year I read it, and I was like, oh man, Wild Out.
That reminds me of, I read that book, Boone, the biography, and talked about his wife Rebecca and him, and he would leave sometimes for a year.
Yeah, I read Long Hunters, and just Ranella's,
and then you'd hear her side of the story being back and taking care of the farm and doing all this stuff without him, not knowing if he lived or died, and he
just
comes back
killing buckskins.
But there's that drive that men have to go. You're like, why would you do this? Why would you go out there? There's the Indians. They're trying to kill you. Like all that stuff. He couldn't help himself. Yep. Like he needed the challenge, the adventure. He needed to dodge getting killed at the same time. He needed to trap all those critters right under their nose, and then he needed to snuggle them out. Like there's something in our body that needs that stuff.
I think doing it with friends when it does suck. Yeah, right? Those highs, those lows, and then when it all comes together, what comes out of that is it's hard to even really measure.
Well,
maybe dragging a full size bear.
Shoot, man, that'll do it. But we talked about it today. Is we don't need to talk to bond. We can just do me and Scott. Scott's been with me on most of my hardest hunts, and some of the people that I competed with and on teams with. We didn't really have to talk much. You just do, right?
I think men are wired that way. You think about from an evolutionary standpoint, men got to coalesce, come together, and they got a teamwork to defend the encampment.
Yep.
Right? They got a teamwork to get the food and bring it back. And I just think men are purpose activity oriented. Mm-hmm. We don't have time for like emotions or talking about feelings or anything
I'm
else.
not good with it.
We were just talking about that when we leave town versus when they leave town.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that on here. What you're talking about though now is protrude as toxic masculinity.
Right.
And you're just like, come on,
It's just masculinity.
It's just masculinity.
That's what it is.
I didn't make the rules.
No,
It's just how it
just
is.
DNA.
This is how it is.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. So, Rich, you know, coming from the CrossFit background,
Mm.
pretty mainstream, you have people that, you know, I'd say in the CrossFit community, there was a heavy focus on nutrition,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And fitness and like sort of a natural lifestyle
food.
and all that. And
Kill an animal.
grass-fed beef,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
But there's just people have an issue with hunting,
Yes.
Just
Especially
killing
if
an
you kill
animal.
a bear.
especially a predator.
Yeah.
Especially a predator.
So,
That eats its young.
yeah,
Just to
right.
get the
And
females
others
back
young.
and
Yeah.
others young. That's what I'm saying.
So that's what I'm asking. Like when you started to go from, because like you have a tremendous reach,
Yeah.
big audience,
Yeah.
people who love and have watched you throughout the games as you were winning year over year, and then you get into hunting. Dude, that's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah.
Because-
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays off here. Yeah.
Because there's a huge.
It was.
You could just alienate.
Oh man, every post I lose and then gain some back.
Not some. There was a big number.
It was like 48,000 for that bear. We killed a cow elk, posted it, lost like 7 or 8. Killed that bear and lost 48. You know, but I don't care, man. Like the older I get too, it's, you know, it happens with security and life and things. You're just like, man, I'm going to be who I'm going to be.
Right.
And, you know, some people care and want to see those things. And I'm just like, this is who I am, you know? And I put a turkey on there. I think it was Good Friday a couple years ago was the first animal I posted, and I posted it and I was just like, oh, what did I just do? You know?
Yeah.
But then now I just kind of like enjoy it, you know? Like I don't even read the comments. My wife, bless her heart, she'll read the comments. And of course, like the bear,
Yeah.
people got dark. Like, oh, I hope because she went on the hunt with us.
Yeah.
She went and helped us spot it. And me and Scott got to it. Somebody like direct messaged her and was like, I hope he trips and that gun shoots you in the back of the head. And you're just like, what is wrong with you
There's
people?
Right.
They
What-
feel that. I think they feel justified in that because they've warped themselves into some sort of moral
And
stance on this that's just bizarre.
what gets me, vegetarian, vegan, your choice. I don't think it's a good choice. Your choice. I'm never going to like go at you for,
Right.
you know, that. But the people that eat meat and are against hunting, not that they don't hunt, but are against hunting. If you don't want to hunt, hey,
Get it.
that's your prerogative.
Right.
But if you're against hunting, but you eat meat,
But you eat
I've
meat.
said it multiple times, you're a coward. You know, like at its basis, you're a coward.
That's it's hypocritical.
It really is.
You know, at the core. What did Rogan say? He's like, I would hashtag this every now and then. Not killed by a supermarket hitman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
You're out there going hunting. You're getting this meat. You're doing it in a challenging way. The animal's dying. Animals are dying either way. So when people have that reaction,
I've wasted way less meat.
yeah,
And I don't waste any game meat because I know how hard it's been.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh, hey, we're keeping that, and I'll eat that. You know, like where before, as bad as it sounds, you're so disconnected from it. You're like, just put that. We're not going to eat those leftovers tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's first world problems, 100%.
No, that's a great analogy.
But still, now that I have that connection with the animal and have killed animals, I'm like, dang, you know, like I've seen animals take their last breath, and that's. You know, hey, there's some
Yep.
respect with that animal that I'm going to make sure that it is, you know, used to its fullest.
On the flip side,
Yep.
okay, there's definitely people who have abandoned, you know, following, don't
Mhm.
want to know what you have to say,
Yeah.
lost all respect for you. There's got to be people though that you have now influenced.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I've seen Joe Rogan do this, right? Like
Massive. Yep.
massive acceptance
Yeah.
of certain types of hunting, bear hunt, all, you know, just this whole paradigm shift for mainstream to
Yeah.
go, wait a minute, if Joe's saying this, then I'm going to think twice because I respect Joe.
I may give it a shot.
Right.
No, I think
And-
that deems on the entire influencer world when it came to COVID. People had a chance to stop,
Yeah.
literally stop, because they couldn't do anything else
Right.
and actually pay attention to that. And once they did pay attention to it, well, now Joe Rogan's doing it. Now this guy's doing it. Now Rich is doing it. All right, maybe I'll listen a little more. And they leaned in a little more. And that was pretty interesting to see over the course of a year, 2 years, that everything stopped and it kind of reset itself, I guess.
Mhm.
But it's interesting to see now how, I mean, just we talk about Colorado all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a reason why. You know,
OTC tags are, You're not getting
and
over
it's
the counter tax in
it's
archery
a whole
anymore.
other topic of the popularity of hunting. Is it a good thing for us that we're already doing it, or is it a bad thing? But I do think that there was a reset, and I think that it wasn't necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-mm.
But I also think that the social acceptance of what we're doing, like you said, comes from influential figures on figuring it out and then starting to understand it.
And it's not just on hunting. Like, there needs to be more courage on your values, morals, political beliefs.
Yeah. Well, man, it's so hard. Anytime you say anything, even remotely political, you're a racist, a bigot, or whatever. And it's just like everybody gets labeled with something.
Mm-hmm.
That's their immediate reaction. Their immediate reaction. We can't just sit down and have a talk anymore. Hey, we disagree. We can walk away from this and still, like, I have friends, luckily, that for years, we sit it's more playful banter,
right?
But still, it's like I still like the person, we are polar opposites, but we can still find some common ground and we get along, It doesn't need to be so radical that it's
I think some of that radicalization occurred because there's only one viewpoint allowed on social media for a while.
On media,
when they started banning
general.
and blocking my posts about bear hunting and things like that through Facebook and other channels, Instagram, it's like, where are we going with this? The gun content being completely hammered down on. Like, I show
Free
a gun
speech.
and it gets the post gets flagged and taken down. And it was on a lot of levels across all the platforms there for a while. I feel like, there's a little bit of a pendulum swing happening right now where there's another voice, another story being told. Ryan and I went and did this wolf hunt up north, and I'm working on the film. I showed you a little clip of it.
Yeah, it's cool.
And we're deliberately doing that controversial thing and putting it together best we can, not to justify it, just socialize the world to it, because it's not weird. It's totally natural and it makes sense. I don't need to explain to you exactly why it makes sense. I'm just going to show you we do it. And when we do that, man, I mean, we get so much backlash from a wolf hunt. We don't get that anymore really from a bear hunt.
Really?
Rogan did.
Yeah, I did.
You did.
You did.
My audience.
Hey, we even AI
mine.
cleaned up the blood.
Yeah.
AI is incredible.
Yeah, it
we
is.
literally looped it, reduced
the red
blood,
out.
and it one
Did
more. It was
it.
like add snow. It was cool.
I need to do more of that.
We did that because we were like, all right, we're already gonna get blasted. But if you
It took guts, dude.
Yeah.
It took guts to put it up.
man, I just not at this point. You're not ashamed to hey, this is who I am, and either
Well, if we don't do it,
yeah,
it's going to be gone.
it's going to be gone, and it's getting ridiculous.
Did you hear that podcast that Ranella did with Clay after they did the trapping
I didn't. No.
episode? It's a good show. They talked for I think it's an hour or so. What's fascinating about it is Clay's discouraged. You can tell a little bit because there's just so much vitriol because they're mainstream, right? They're Netflix,
Yeah.
And the cooking show, there's a lot of people who watch. And they want to condone all this whitetail stuff, but they're not down with the whole wolf hunting thing. Why would you be, into this? So Clay's got feeling that heat. And he asked Ranella, he says, toward the end of the show, and they talked about it from all sorts of levels. The production was interesting. I expected them to go into some big drawn out explanation for why wolf hunting makes sense. And here's the stats. They didn't do any of that. They just said, we trapped wolves. Check it out. A little bit of stuff in there, not much. They didn't oversell it or over-explain it at all. They just did it. And Clay asked Ranella, did we move the needle at all? Or are we did we move it back?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. I feel a little bit, I'm tired of it, all the DMs and the hate I'm getting, basically. He didn't say that, but it was kind of the sentiment there. And Steve said, there's no body of evidence that suggests that if hunters don't talk about hunting, that's going to somehow save it. It's that's not a thing. We thought if we keep our head down and we don't showcase trapping and we don't talk about trapping and we don't talk about wolf hunting and we don't talk about the controversial stuff and then we only show the
Glamour
stuff
shots,
that people are kind of okay with, that, you know, they'd leave us alone. He's like, they don't.
Right.
We have to tell our story.
Mm.
We have to tell it, and we have to put it out there, and we have to socialize the public to it. And in fact, he's like, the data suggests the more we talk about it, the more we may film it, showcase it, produce it, and share it, the more acceptance there is.
Yeah.
But remember, the other side's always pushing.
They are.
Right. So you're right. If
Well, they're doing the same thing with other things too.
Well,
if you think about it.
well, absolutely.
What we just talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're doing. That's what they've been doing for years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I felt like, hey, if I don't tell my story, then someone else is going to tell for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to like how they tell it.
They don't know there's another side if there's only one side talking.
Yeah.
Right.
And you see like, this public, I see a shift, you know, I'm encouraged when I see you like showcasing all your hunts, Rich. I'm already in it. Like, I introduce people to it all the time that are maybe a little new, that are into hunting, but I don't have that sort of mainstream reach like some others do. But I've seen it with others coming on. You see Jack Carr slipping it into his, like all his novels, you know, there is this movement, and I feel like the attitude toward a lot of this is completely shifting. You're still going to have that radical crowd who's like going to try to hate and stop hunting. That's an endless battle.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I don't even get on. I'll every once in a while make a troll comment, you know, like I'll just more or less just light a match than actually do anything.
Just walk away.
But it's actually cool to watch the people
defend
that
you.
follow me.
Yeah.
They'll get into these. I'll click and just to like skim it, and I'll
down.
see a comment screen that's like 100+ comments. I forgot the numbers on the amount of comments. It was nearly the same amount of like likes and views of that bear. Like it was in the tens of thousands of comments.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's kind of funny. You know, like Hillary's like, you see what they're saying about you? I'm like, no, I don't care. You know, like
How about you? Like, I learned not to care a while ago. I truly am way beyond that. You can hate me all you want. I've been through the fire. I've been blackballed. I've had it all.
I have a buddy that said if 50% of the people like you and 50 hate you, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Because you can appease everybody. And if you're vanilla, you know, what do you have stats? 10,000 comments on that bear post.
Wow.
That's insane.
10,000 comments.
Dude.
But how many people are you introducing for the first time that were maybe afraid
Yeah.
to like show that they're
Well,
a little
we
bit
get
curious?
so many DMs and comments. Hey, where do I start? Where do I, you know, like, how do I get into it? I'm interested in it, but I don't even know where to start. And that's the hard part too with a lot of these, especially Western states. I've noticed to figure out the points and the draws and you have to have a third party almost and hire them to do it.
Yeah, you've got some cool hunts in the pipeline.
Yeah, for sure.
Going along with a few people with a lot more experience.
Yeah. I'm in the learning stage, you know, like I'm trying to soak up as much knowledge as I can to pass on and to get better myself. And so
I know I still do. People are like, Gritty only kills animals because he hunts with Ryan Lampers and he's so good. And it's like, well, yeah. I mean,
that was the point, right? That was the point.
I'm here to learn, and there's a killer here that I could follow for. I mean, every year I learn more and more and more. You need a mentor.
Yeah,
you can shorten that learning curve so much. It can change your life.
Yeah.
In every aspect of your life, you need mentors.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You know, whether that's faith, that's family, that's work, that's anything.
Well, there's so many variations of how people do things. Everyone does them so differently. Spending 6 years together on his farm, I would have never thought that I'd get the knowledge that I did. I own a farm now, but it's not. It's what a fraction of what Gregg has in Illinois. But he obviously worked his butt off to get that farm, and now it's a fully functioning operation out there for whitetails every year. And to gain that knowledge, I would have never had that opportunity to do it without jumping into the role I was in. But then you talk to Lee Likoski, he's doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing an hour away.
Yeah.
And there's some crossover. He does things differently than Gregg. Gregg does things differently than him.
But there's that saying, you become like the people you hang out with the most, you know?
Yeah.
And if you want to be good at CrossFit games,
hang out with a bunch of CrossFit games.
Yeah, that's right. some of those
If
top guys.
Right, because if you look at all the top whitetail guys, we all talk to one another.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, it's a network.
I talk to Lee. Lee talked to Don Kiske. He's talking to Mark Drury. Right. He's talking to Lee about. So I mean,
And you all make each other better.
Well, we do because we share everything. So you're taking 10 lifetimes of experience multiplied over 10 people. Now we have 100 lifetimes of experience.
And there's a little friendly competition in there too. So you want to,
Oh, yeah.
So that always, competition always makes everything better, right?
Sure.
Not only that, there's also just, you guys are nerds, okay?
Yeah.
And for you guys to obsess like that, there's only so many people on the planet.
Yeah, when I'm taking
That you
tissue
can-
samples of plants,
Right.
Because I want a 1% change.
That's right. You
in the
can't,
genetic makeup of that deer.
like, like, I nerd out with people. I'm like, Ryan and I will go hunt for 20 days in a row in the mountains and not come home. Who can break away from their family? Who can spend that many days in a row? Who wants to? Who's going to live out of their backpack?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the list is short of
Right.
that man, that type of person to do what I want to do. And so you tend to gravitate for that reason as well, because
Right.
they're your people.
Well, and there's something to be said about doing hard things, right? You learn a lot about yourself. You learn about a lot about the people that are with you, and you just come out of the other side better. You know, like anything that's easy, it's fun, but it's not nearly as much fun.
It's
as something-
short-term fun.
Yeah, like you're saying, type 2 fun. Like
Yeah.
it sucks, and then as soon as you finish, you're like,
I want to do it again.
man, that was fun. That was fun.
There's something about that suffering too. There's something meaningful. I noticed this when I first started doing CrossFit,
Yep.
especially at a gym. It
Yep.
was kind of by myself with my brother-in-law a little bit. And we bonded a lot over that.
Shared suffering.
Then when we went to the gym, I had a whole family that was like my church.
Yep.
And it was in a really like special time in my life. And I could not know the guy at all. But we would work out 3 or 4 days a week and suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And within a month, we'd be like close, and I wouldn't even know his wife's name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hang out every day.
It's just there's something about that brings people together. I don't know what it is. Have you thought about it?
No, I don't know. It is, it's something that because you see it all the time. Scott was talking about earlier. They've got a guy that started jumping in on their workouts. They hung out for like 3 hours. Now he works out with them every day. He's like, I don't even know the guy's name, because usually there's that
Right.
awkwardness of like,
Is that where
we should be close enough, but I don't even know your name, you know?
Is that where that I guess the mislabeling of the CrossFit cult
Yeah.
comes from?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because you just go so tight over struggle?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I never. I think you find that in every industry, every space.
Yeah.
Right. Where it can be a little cultish,
Sure.
For sure. Yeah.
but for me, and still to this day, there is something fundamental about that, and I know it from going with guys. Like I went with Brady Miller on that moose hunt. We suffered.
Yeah.
We didn't eat for 3 days till we killed the moose, and then we ate the moose for a couple more days, and we packed that thing out to the like 3 miles through the bush. You do that with a dude, you're
close.
You're
bonded.
close.
You're close.
Like
built
we're
a
just
bond.
close.
It's your bro,
And from now on, I can call Brady up anytime.
Yep.
We've had partners like Adam Weatherby suffer with us. It's like there's something more than just Weatherby rifles.
Mhm.
We know Adam. We suffered together. Like I can call him up and tell him about a hardship or a struggle I'm having, and he would be there for me. You don't get that without that suffering together.
But
There's something
it
about it.
goes back to the whole primal thing. This is where CrossFit figured it out.
Mhm.
They call it their community,
Community.
right?
True.
But that's not the right word. The right word, you got to go back. They used to be called tribes or clans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's all it is.
That's all it is.
Tribes would come together, clans would come together, right? And so now we call it community and shared suffering, so we call it different terms.
Yeah.
Churched it up. We churched it up a little bit.
But it's the
Yeah.
same
It's the
thing.
same. Well, and I always tell people, there's this whole like CrossFit's for everybody. No, it's not.
Mm.
Everybody can do CrossFit,
Yeah.
but not everybody wants to do. Like you have to have a little bit of like, you
Yeah.
want to suffer a little bit, like it's hard. It's not something that you're like, there's days where I'm like, oh, I look at a workout and there's like that pit of like dread in my stomach, nervousness, right? Why?
Is Hillary wired that way?
No. completely opposite.
That's
My
right.
wife, like we talked to her, like me and my wife could not be more opposite on most things. And we get it just works.
But
right?
you guys get along
She
great.
does not understand.
I have some. The reason I bring it up is I have some friends that are just like that. They're like, Brian, like kudos to you, but I just don't understand it.
Sure.
I have no desire, and I can't understand why you do it.
She doesn't get. She's just like this mountain bike race that I did last year. You know, she's used to cheering for me to win and all this. There's no chance I'm winning this mountain bike race. I went to get a damn belt buckle, and not the small one. I wanted the big one, right? And so the night before the race, she goes, "Hey, I need to ask you something." I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "Well, what do you need me to cheer for you for? Like, I know you're not trying to win, right?" And I was like, "Well, no." And she's like, "So what do I do?" And I'm like, "Just be there," you know? Like, and so, you know, over the years, she was just like, you know, I'd come in and, hey, I snatched 300, right? That's a milestone.
Yeah.
She's like, "Cool, take the trash out," you know? But for me, it was like, CrossFit didn't matter. It was like, hey, you know, like, that's cool.
That's special.
That's just what you do. Yeah, 100%. She was biggest fan. Mm-hmm. She couldn't tell you 5 movements, like CrossFit movement. Funny story. She's going to kill me for telling you this. For years, she was like, muscle ups just don't look that hard. And I'm like, Hillary, you can't do a pull up. She goes, I could do a muscle up. I'm like, you can't do a pull up. You can't do a dip. And that's the easy part. She's like, whatever. So we had this conversation. Well, one time I'm out of town. So I have this 30 by 20 garage off by the side of the house. And she goes on kicks where she's like, I'm going to go work out. Doesn't want my help whatsoever.
Of course. That's how my wife is too.
She's like, I'm going to do it myself, you know? And so she goes out there. She sets up the phone. She deleted this video, but she told me the story after. I'm like, if we had this video, we'd be millionaires. Because she gets in the phone and she goes, you don't think I can do a muscle up, but I'm going to show you. She sets the phone up. She stacks plates up because the rings are too high. She says she goes to jump to grab the rings. Well, she misses. She's
gets
like,
one ring.
She gets one ring and, you know, does the little swing. She's like, well, I need to get down. So she goes to get down, twists her ankle. Falls out of the screen. She said she couldn't get up. She's like, this is where I die. Nobody's going to look for me in here. And she got rid of the video. But that's Hillary to a T. She was convinced one day she couldn't lift a 45-pound bar.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, cool. She like, try this. 15-pound bar, training bar, 15-pound plates on either side equals 45 pounds. I'm like, here, pick this up. Picks it right up. And I'm like, that's the same weight. She's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, same weight. And so that's our
my wife, she has this thing where it's like we will archery shoot together and she's good. And but I'll say, hey, Suzanne, like, you need to do this. And it's like, doesn't hear a word I say. Not interested at all. And then she'll talk to Joel Turner or Lambert, someone else, not me. And she'll be like, did you know what he told me I was doing? It's like the same thing.
It's like your kids.
Yeah,
kids are the same way.
Selective hearing is what that's called.
I've started coaching my kids, and it's just like, it's a nightmare. They want me to coach, and guys, I do not want to coach. I don't want to coach youth sports. Every year, they're like, Dad, can you coach us again? And I'm like, please, God, no. I don't want to do this. And, you know, you tell them one thing, they're like, Lakeland is just like, whatever. And then Bird's wife, she helped coach this year and takes everything she says. I'm like, what the hell? You know, like, could care less.
That's hard.
Kayla did CrossFit with one of my best friends that was a coach. Oh, she did his class for like 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
When he would go out of town, I'd coach the class.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing, like you're saying, and you're saying, I would say the same thing to her. You know,
she roll her eyes
where, you know, her knees are caving on her squats. You know, drive your knees out.
Shut up.
What? No. And then James would come back in and I'm like, let me guess, back squat today? Yeah. Did her knees cave? Yeah. What'd you tell her? Drive her knees out? You won't believe what James told me today. It was so much better.
It helped so much.
It was so much better.
Dude, we all can relate.
Yep.
Rich, you're going on a bunch of hunts this year. What can people look for at Mayhem Hunt, like coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, so we just launched it a couple June-ish, right around June. And so we've put out, you know, every day a workout comes on right now we're on SugarWOD, the app. And we got kind of 3 levels of, you know, a said workout. And so, you know, there's usually about 3 or 4 days of what, you know, it's a version of CrossFit. You know, it is functional movements. It's a lot less gymnastics. It's a lot more grunt work, a lot more grindy stuff. Less.
Would you say like that's more? So you've been on a bunch of hunts now.
Yeah.
and having done that, designing the programming.
Yeah, it's designed basically off of what we've learned from being in the field and then having 15 years of high level, fitness experience, been to the highest levels of that, and having an exercise science degree and being a college strength coach. And so, yeah, we've kind of taken it all. And I'm like, anytime I'm on a hunt, I'm like, all right, what can I do when I get back that will mimic this or prepare me better for this? And so all of that's gone into that, I'd say at this point, 12 years of research. And so pretty fired up about that. And then just fired up to be hunting this fall.
We've covered topics of fitness a lot on Gritty Podcast for years. And one thing that is pretty common is I run into guys that they want to get in shape. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. They hunt, but now they're like, I got this knee, this back, these hips, or whatever it is. And they're not old.
Right.
They're not old. They're just not getting it done anymore.
Yeah.
And you start to see them go, well, I don't backpack anymore because this, or I don't shoot my bow anymore. I just only rifle hunt because of this. But it's not over.
No, heck no.
Hey, if you like our show and you want to support us, head over to Peaks Equipment and check out what they have. Use the code GRITTY over there and you will save. They've got the trekking poles. They've got their sleeping bag that they just dropped. Peaks has a teepee. They have gaiters. They have a headlamp. All premium products for the outdoorsman. Head over there. Use the code GRITTY. That's peaksequipment.com. Now let's get back to the show.
That's the beauty of, and we keep talking about CrossFit. We have an 80 Hollings is 84, I think. 84 Alzheimer's. We have a guy that works out with him every day, helps him like, hey, Hollings, we got to go this way. Hey, Hollings, you're at this whatever rep. But his wife, she's, I think, a couple years younger than him, but she talks about the best days that he has is doing CrossFit. So he's 83 years old. There's no excuse. Like, we can figure out something. And that's kind of the beauty of what we're like, hey, we've got a level to where guys they haven't been working out lately. Yeah. Like, hey, how can we help you get back to that? And, there's a lot of things others are doing where it's just like, oh, hop in and we're going to do it. But, you got like blood, sweat, and tears. And I'm like, no, let's start with a little rehab, some prehab. We've got like these kind of shoulder protocols. That's what I was going to ask. So we talked about one today. I do a kind of a hip, knee protocol. And
people can find some of this over on the Meat Eater platform,
Yeah.
right?
So we're about to partner with Meat Eater just to give them fitness advice. And so there'll be a hip one that'll come out. I do a shoulder one. I do 3 and 4 days a week to get my shoulder ready before I shoot a bow. Mm-hmm. We were talking about it. You could do that hip halo in, if you're hunting in a cabin or something like that, just to get everything warmed up before you're about to go hike up a hill.
Yeah, because what I'm driving at, I'd like to ask you this. Like, there's a lot of exercise programs out there. A lot of people push fitness. But what is it that you're doing different? What are you bringing to the table that's unique? Because I see a lot of it, and having come up in the CrossFit space for a decade, knowing my own fitness capabilities, my mobility, and all of that I hard won and earned through all this Olympic lifting and all this other type of movement. And it's hard for me to convince somebody, hey, there's this whole level of fitness that you don't even know
missing
about.
Out on,
and to bring them into it, and they want it. But instead, they're signing up for, like I said, like P90X, or like
absolutely.
back in the day, or something else.
Here's my deal: is if you're doing
all exercise is great.
That's what's hard for me is I've been in it for so long, and you can drum somebody to death about doing CrossFit. Sometimes they're just not going to do it. As long as you're doing some type of fitness, I'm good with it. I think we've optimized and figured out how to make your time the most efficient. We've coached high-level athletes, people that have won the CrossFit Games. I've been on 6 teams that have won the CrossFit Games. I won it 4 times as an individual. We have and send athletes from all over the world to go to the CrossFit Games. But guess what? We have a gym that has 500 members. So we see people that walk in off the street that have never done maybe not ever done any physical fitness. Mm-hmm. We have, a traditional Phil. We did a documentary on one of the guys that goes to the gym. He has severe PTSD, social, and he walked into the gym never doing much fitness, and now he's there every day and a staple in our community. And we have tons of stories like that. So we've seen people who've, the most I don't want to say run down, but people just haven't been into fitness and so we've seen lowest of lows and, what you would say the fittest on earth.
Yeah.
And so through all of that experience of 15 years, we figured out, hey, maybe you don't want to kip a pull up. Mm-hmm. Here's something else. Hey, we don't want to take that risk on loading you up with a super heavy back
That's what I feel
squat.
like is the
let's do some squatting. You need to squat.
That's what I feel like is sort of the dark side of even some CrossFit.
Well, you looked at CrossFit early on and it was like, hey, just get in there and hurt. Like, that's what we want to do, right? And that's like there is, and I can nerd out on this stuff. Like, we're talking bows, like intensity versus technique. Like, you still need to there's days, like we were talking today, there's days where if I feel good, I'm going to push it a little bit. I'm not going to push it to where, like I'm going to hurt myself. Yeah. I'm still going to flirt with that line. We talked about that even with pacing, but you do that with intensity is like, hey, there's days where, all right, we're going to do a little higher intensity. And then maybe one day it's just we started doing these kind of like zone 2-ish heart rate stuff. You hop on a machine, you get off, you shoot an arrow from 20 yards, hop back on a machine, get your heart rate back to about 130. Just to and people ripped me apart about, why would you do that? You're introducing all this and you're just like, I don't do it every time I shoot, but sometimes I don't want to sit on a machine for 40 minutes. So guess what?
Right.
I'm still going to hop off. I'm going to shoot an arrow while my heart rate is high because sometimes that's going to happen, right? Yeah. We were talking all situations aren't the same. And so you'll see some of that on the Mayhem Hunt stuff is like, hey,
that's cool.
A lot of times on Thursdays or Fridays, throw a ruck on, do 400 loop, come back in, shoot an arrow. Come back, and change some of that stuff.
When my kids are growing up, and Sydney will tell you that. She was on the mountain with us today. I'd make them run to the 60-yard target and come back. And they would love this when they were little.
Oh, yeah.
There's 3 girls, right?
Yeah. They love running.
So they'd run, they'd have to loop that, come back, and then they'd have to shoot the crossbow.
Yeah.
Right? But then they had to cock it, put it in, put it on. Like, they had to, get their brain.
Gets their brain.
Right? And you're low on oxygen, your heart rate's going, right? And then you'd always shoot for something fun, right? You're shooting for cupcakes or ice cream and it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they're rolling on the ground.
Who cares? They're having fun. They're doing something.
But they learn that.
And I did those zone 2s probably twice a week. Like, I'd be like, man, to get moving this morning, I want to 20 minutes, hop on the bike, shoot some arrows, right?
Yeah.
Well, then it's been about 2 weeks ago, I was like talking to somebody, I forget who it was, and I'm like, I did a 3-rep deadlift. So I did 405, which is about 75-ish percent. Mm-hmm. And I was like, 3 deadlifts every 90 seconds. But then right after that, I got to shoot a bow, which is way different than the heart rate thing because your CNS gets taxed. Mm-hmm. That was a cool. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to start adding this into some strength, like hit a few, 3-4 back squats, relatively heavy.
Yeah.
Walk out, shoot. Cause your body, it's like just different stimulus. It's putting your body in fight or flight.
That's great. I worked on that for a while. I did the train to hunt competitions here and there, but when you do 30 burpees fast as you can, and then you pull up and you try to shoot, you're simulating that high heart rate. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing the arms can be tired, the whole thing, right? And then you go to hold and you're trying to shoot. And I was trying to do that so I could handle the adrenaline from pressure.
Yep.
The one thing that was different though from adrenaline was with adrenaline, my heart rate was similar. Like, the excitement was intense. So it did help me recruit the ability to shoot and stay focused and push through all that heavy breathing and shakiness, control my breath a little better. But one thing I noticed was you lose all that fine motor skill with the adrenaline.
Especially with the heavy deadlift. That was the heavy deadlift. I don't lose it as much when my heart rate's like 140.
Yeah.
But that heavy deadlift, I grab that release and I'm like, oh,
dexterity wins.
I'm going to have to try because I was sitting there going, I want that simulation where I'm like, I can't even get the release on because my fingers don't work because my adrenaline is so high. Because the heart rate being up but having full control over my hand, that was not quite simulating
similar.
That 6x6 bull elk.
I was more thinking like, hey, we got into a stalk and hey, I've got to take a shot. And my heart rate is, we've just got to do something. But the deadlift was it was cool. It was fun.
Gregg, you're looking fit.
Looking really fit. He was fit yesterday. We did a workout.
So you know what I was thinking while you guys were talking here, and a lot of people don't know this. So yeah, I'm 54.
Look good for 54.
And so I fell out of a tree stand 25 years ago. Didn't walk for 3 years.
Dang.
Okay. So like I need a full ankle replacement, spiral fracture up my tibia, broke my fibia, right? I've got a labral tear on my shoulder. I've ripped both my tendons off the bone from, tendonitis, and I broke my back twice on hunts. Okay. So my body's been through a lot.
Through the ringer. Yeah.
But I'm not 50 pounds overweight.
No.
I'm still sheep hunting. I'm still, I'm finding a way to modify what I do.
That's what's great about it.
And
Infinitely scalable.
Everything's scalable. And I really appreciate that comment that there's always a path forward.
For sure.
And you just got to figure what that is.
A lot of guys
work
quit
around it. And a lot, right. It took me.
When I see that, like, dude with 1 foot going to the CrossFit gym
right.
and he starts just pounding out deadlifts and stuff, I'm just like, I just tell myself, like, because I don't want to go today because my knee's a little stiff.
Yeah, I'm a little stiff.
It's like the dude doesn't have a foot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, come on. You can always find a way to push through it.
You can. So I want a sheep hunt. I want a mountain goat hunt. I want to pack an elk out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want somebody else to pack my elk out.
Heck no.
Like, I don't want to do that.
Somebody else
right?
doing something else.
I still want that picture of that hindquarter over my shoulder with a wolf attached to it, right?
Yeah.
So I do all of that all year.
Yeah.
For that one moment.
One chance.
Right? To just say I can still do it.
Still do it. Still got it.
I still got that's
that's cool.
And that's what drives me. And the only reason I say that now is I'm not special. I'm not special. Like, I'm not physically special. I'm not mentally special. I just want something bad enough that I'm willing to do the work. So the people who are listening now, you can do the same thing.
That makes you special compared to 90% of people now. Nobody wants to do it. They want things given to them.
Yeah. Well, boy, now that there goes another 2 hours down the rabbit hole.
We could turn this into a political podcast or what?
So, Jake, I want to thank you for having us. We're at this
chalet.
Nice.
Chalet.
Is that what it is?
Chalet.
Yeah. It's this Utah ski chalet.
Yeah.
Although all that's happening is Rich boys jumping in the hot tub every day.
Trice has been in the hot tub. He grabbed a rock from across the road and changed the whole landscape. I was like, dude, you can't do that. He was trying to rip out an aspen out of it. I'm like, come on, man. Can't go anywhere.
Love the house. Thank you for having us, putting us up in the course here. And this is my 3rd year, right? Rick?
Third year.
Yep.
This is a tradition now.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It feels so good.
We had 2 ultra competitive guys shooting last year, and it's like, how can we make that better?
We bring Rich along. I felt bad because Rich is still a little new to this whole
We're getting there.
elite
We're getting there.
situation and all that stuff. So
next year. We got tomorrow morning too.
We do have another morning. Yep.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you. What does Mountain Ops have going on right now? What's coming down the pipeline there?
Well, we're in the middle of our 10-year anniversary sale.
10
so
years.
We've got until the 24th. Everything's 30% off. Whenever this airs, this may be over. But we do have we've got a lot of new flavors coming out and a lot of flagship products, and we're working on some things.
We got some stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff and some
we're working on
things.
some things.
That's cool.
With Mr. Froning, and I think we just continue to be unapologetic of who our audience is. We make outdoor performance supplements, and being unapologetic is kind of a unique.
We make pretty good gym supplements too, though.
Yeah. That's the translation now, right?
Yeah.
The translation now is, I think you and I have talked about it. You and I have definitely talked about it. Is where does that translate for a whitetail hunter? Because most of the guys where I'm at and where Gregg's at, they're just whitetail guys. And they don't need to be a Rich Froning. They don't need to be Cam Hanes to go to a deer stand. And so my goal and purpose right now with Mountain Ops is bringing a message similar to what we've all talked about here.
You want to hunt longer?
Yeah, you want to hunt longer, but it's actually a little bit different in that everybody in the hunting community that, like you were talking about, you want something to pass on.
Yeah.
We want to be stewards of the land. We want to be good conservationists, rule followers, but we also want to pass this along. And so those kids they're sponges. They're watching everything we do. And so those guys that are saying, I don't need to be Cam Hanes, I don't need to be Rich Froning to go hunt in a tree stand. Well, if you're willing to pass that along, what else are you passing along to your kids? Are you, like we were talking about hot boxing your kids on the way to the tree stand with Marlboro Reds? Are you putting junk in your face every day to the point when your kids actually do get out there and do start wanting to learn and they're biting at the bit to learn, but you've said, well, I don't need to be Cam Hanes or I don't need to be Rich Froning, but you're physically unable to hike that hill. You're physically unable, if you do get out west, to pack that deer out or drag that deer out. That's my message out in the Midwest right now that I'm really focused on, is changing. And I think it is. I think the hunting community right now is more fit than it ever has been.
Yeah,
I grew up in the hunting community. And the shift has been incredible. I think for guys like Rich, guys like Cam, guys like Gregg, showing that, it is important, because we're also passing that along, healthy habits to our kids. We're passing that along, but also we get to enjoy it as they get older.
Well, that's a sort of this, I always call it like a lifestyle, because we eat the meat that we go and get, and we physically grind to go get it and create skills and fitness and levels of discipline to get there, to get the meat. Like, it's all part of life. It's all intertwined, and
so many lessons can be taken from all of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, your kids, they grow up doing it and so on. And it's a special thing.
Yep.
It's a lifestyle.
I think I did want to point out another thing that we have going on that I think anyone that's ever been around mountain ops or has known the brand, but if you're new to the brand looking into it, the portion of a portion of the proceeds in every transaction at Mountain Ops goes towards that Conquer Hunger. We just hit a milestone of packaging the 6 millionth meal that has gone out to kids in need. And that's not just in the US, that's South Africa, that's around the world, that we've helped in these organizations. So growing that brand also participates in growing that mission. Yeah. And so I think what's kind of neat to see now is we've got guys like the working class bow hunters, where we've put challenges out there that, not only a portion of the proceeds is going back, but for every, code usage or all these things with affiliate marketing, that's not just to make people money. That's to actually put money in the piggy bank for Conquer Hunger.
Right.
And so we've got some pretty cool challenges coming up. We're partnering with some really cool businesses in Utah, where we're going to try to set a world record for the number of people packaging meals. And I think the number's it's over 100,000 meals in one day. That number could be completely wrong, but we are going for the most people packaging the meals.
Whatever that number is, that's what we're going for.
And then we've got some more Conquer Hunger events just rolling down the pipe. But as far as everything at Mountain Ops, I think the thing that I'm the most proud of is that we are unapologetic of who our demographic is, and that demographic is starting to splinter out to the CrossFit community because of guys like Rich, to the ultra marathon runners out there because of Cam, and the Midwest because of guys like Gregg.
Yep.
That's what I'm the most proud of. And, I think it's just going to continue to spread far and wide because of people like this that work with us.
Yep.
Including you.
Thank you.
Including you.
Hey guys, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us.
Yeah. It's been really fun, by the way, shooting. Tomorrow I'm going to kick your asses.
All right.
And,
I think I got that bow fixed.
No, I got all the bad ones out today. I'm all in.
All right.
A couple more headshots.
Well, I can usually count on you to make a few,
just
imploded. I'm just here to make it fun.
Well, I gave you like eight target lead.
Yeah.
And you just imploded.
You gave me a head start.
I
got all the bad ones out.
Yeah. Tomorrow's redemption.
Tomorrow will be fun.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.